If you made $100,000 last year, congratulations. Statistically, you're in the top 20% of earners in this country. You are also, statistically, completely and utterly priced out of the average American home. I know that sounds harsh. I know you've been saving. I know Zillow keeps sending you notifications about that cute 3-bedroom with the white picket fence listed for $499,999. But I'm going to show you the math that your loan officer, your realtor, and probably your parents don't fully understand. The math for 2026 is brutal. And if you walk into a bank, without understanding this, you are going to get absolutely crushed by a car payment's evil, more expensive cousin, the mortgage payment. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to break down the exact income you need to survive, not just qualify, for a $500,000 house in this economy. We're going to look at the real interest rates hiding behind the headlines, the phantom costs that bankrupt new homeowners, and I'll reveal the one income bracket that is actually still playing the game. By the end of this video, you'll have a crystal clear, step-by-step calculator in your head. You'll know exactly what price point you can actually afford without being a house poor. More importantly, you'll know the one move you can make in 2026 if you still want to own a home before 2030. We're cutting through the realtor hype and the government data, and we're looking at cold, hard cash flow. Look, I'm not a realtor trying to get you to buy something so I can make a commission. I'm not a bank trying to trap you in a 30-year loan. I'm a financial analyst who has spent the last decade underwriting real estate deals. I've bought my own house, I've bought rental properties, and right now in early 2026, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm telling my own friends, don't do it yet, unless the math works. And for most of you, the math is broken. Let's start with the myth. The lie you see on TikTok or hear from your buddy who bought a house in 2019. The old rule of thumb was that you could afford a house worth about 3 times your annual gross income. So for a $500,000 house, you'd need to make about $165,000 a year. That was the rough guideline. But that was before. That was when interest rates are at 3% or 4%. That was when you could put 5% down and the seller would pay your closing costs. In 2026, we're living in a different universe. Let's draw the actual picture. We have a $500,000 house. Let's assume you're a first-time buyer, you've been saving like crazy, and you put down 5%. That's $25,000 cash. Congratulations, you just wrote a check for a brand new Honda Accord. Your loan amount is $475,000. Now for the interest rate. In early 2026, we're seeing average 30-year fixed rates hovering between 6.5% and 7% for prime borrowers. But let's be honest, after fees, points, and the current economic volatility, your real-world rate is probably 7%. Plug that into a calculator. On a $475,000 loan at 7% for 30 years, your principal and interest payment is roughly $3,160 per month. But wait, we're not done. We're just getting started. See this roof, this yard, this box on the wall? They all cost money. You have property taxes. On a $500K home, depending on your state, you're looking at anywhere from $300 to $800 a month. Let's split the difference and call it $500. You have homeowners insurance. That's another $150 a month minimum, and that's going up every year because of climate change and inflation. Then you have private mortgage insurance, or PMI. Because you only put 5% down, the bank is scared. They make you pay PMI. That's another $200. Add it up. $3,160 plus $500 plus $150 plus $200. Your minimum monthly housing payment just to live in this house, keep the bank happy, and not get sued is $4,001. And we haven't even turned the lights on yet. Here's where the qualifying lie really hurts you. The bank looks at your income and they say, okay, if your gross monthly income is around $10,000, your debt-to-income ratio looks fine. We'll give you the loan. Making $120,000 a year gives you a gross monthly income of about $10,000. So if the bank sees you have a $4,000 mortgage payment and maybe a $400 car payment and some student loans, they'll say you're at a 44% DTI. Approved. Go buy a house. But you don't live on gross income. You live on net income. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, that $10,000 gross is closer to $7,000 net, maybe $6,500 if you're in a high-tax state. Let's do the real math. You bring it home $7,000. You pay $4,010 to the house. What's left? $2,990 for the entire month. For food, gas, electricity, water, internet, Netflix, car insurance, car payment, health insurance copays, clothing, and emergencies. But here's the part they don't tell you. Here's the brutal part. That $2,990, it's already gone before you even spend it on fun. Let's subtract the basics. Utilities, electric, gas, water, trash, $400. Internet and cell phone, $150. Car payment, an average new car is $730 a month. Let's be conservative, $400. Car insurance, $150. Gas for the commute, $200. Groceries for a single person or couple, $600. Add that up, $1,900. $2,990 minus $1,900, $1,090 left for the month. That's for everything else. Health insurance deductibles, home maintenance, a birthday gift, a coffee, a leaky faucet. This is the definition of house poor. You have a $500,000 asset and you have $35 of disposable income per day. One trip to the emergency room, one blown HVAC system, and you're on a credit card spiral. So who can actually afford this house? Not the person making $120,000 a year. To be comfortable, to actually have breathing room, to save for retirement, and to not panic every time the price of eggs goes up, your net monthly income needs to be at least double your mortgage payment. If your mortgage payment is $4,000, you need to be bringing home $8,000 a month after taxes. To bring home $8,000 a month after taxes in 2026, you need to be grossing roughly $140,000 to $150,000 a year as a single filer. So the new math is this. To afford a $500,000 house without being miserable, you need a household income of $150,000. Now, some of you are thinking, well, I'll just put 20% down to avoid PMI and lower my payment. Great idea. Let's see how realistic that is. 20% down on a $500,000 house is $100,000 cash. Do you have $100,000 in liquid cash sitting in a bank account right now? If you do, this video isn't for you. But for the other 99% of us, saving $100,000 is a monumental task. To save $100,000 in 5 years, you need to save $20,000 a year, or $1,666 a month. That's the equivalent of a second car payment, just for the privilege of saving for a down payment. But here's the controversial take for 2026. Putting 20% down might actually be stupid right now. Think about it. You dump $100,000 of your liquid net worth into a house. That money is gone. It's not earning interest. It's not in the stock market. It's just equity. Equity you can't touch unless you sell or take out a HELOC at a high rate. Meanwhile, if you keep that $100,000 in a high-yield savings account, earning 4 to 5% interest, you're making $5,000 a year. That $5,000 could pay for 80% of your PMI. It could pay for maintenance. In 2026, liquidity is king. Cash is oxygen. Don't suffocate yourself by throwing it all into a down payment just to avoid PMI. Sometimes it's better to have the cash in your pocket and pay the slightly higher monthly payment. It gives you options. But before I reveal the most important step, the survival strategy for 2026, I need to show you what happens if you get this math wrong, because I've seen it happen and it's heartbreaking. Meet Dave and Sarah. Names changed, but the story's real. They bought a house in mid-2025 for $495,000. They made a combined $130,000. They did the bank's math. They qualified. They scraped together 5% down. They moved in. They were ecstatic. Then the water heater died. $1,800. Then the property taxes went up by $200 a month because the city reassessed. Then they had a medical bill. Then they had to put new tires on the car. Their $2,990 buffer evaporated. They started putting groceries on credit cards. Then the minimum payments on the credit cards ate into the next month's buffer. Fast forward 18 months, they are 60 days late on their mortgage. Their credit score has dropped 150 points. They can't refinance. They can't sell for what they owe because the market softened slightly in early 2026. And after realtor fees, they need to bring $10,000 to the closing table just to get rid of it. They are trapped. They are prisoners in their own home. This is the reality of buying a house in 2026 without a proper margin of safety. The big doesn't care if your water heater breaks. The big just wants its $4,001. So back to the original question. Who can actually afford a $500,000 house in 2026? We've established the numbers, but let's look at the demographics. The people buying these houses right now fall into 3 specific categories. Category 1, the dual income, no kids. This is the classic 2026 buyer. 2 software developers or a nurse and engineer pulling in a combined $180,000. They have no daycare costs, no soccer fees,
and they can throw their dual incomes at the mortgage. They can absorb the $4,000 payment because their expenses are artificially low. Category 2, the 2019 refinance boomerang. These are people who bought a house in 2019 or 2020 for $300,000, refinanced at 3%, and have been sitting on a mountain of equity. They sell that starter home for $450K, walk away with $200K in cash, and put $150K down on the $500K house. Their new mortgage is only $350K. They win because they played the game early. Category 3, the inheritor. This is the dark horse of the 2026 housing market. The great wealth transfer is here. Baby boomers are passing away, leaving tax-free inheritances to their Gen X and millennial kids. A $50,000 or $100,000 inheritance is the single most common down payment source we're seeing right now. It's not savings discipline, it's generational wealth. If you're not getting an inheritance, you're playing against people who are. Okay, you're not a dink, you don't have a house to sell, and grandma is still kicking. You still want a $500K house. What do? You have to change the variables. You have to make the math work for your life. Step 1, the rate buy-down, the 2026 hack. In 2024 and 2025, everyone wanted seller credits to lower the price. In 2026, the smart move is to ask for seller credits to buy down the interest rate. A 2-1 buy down can reduce your rate from 7% to 5% in year 1 and 6% in year 2. This lowers your payment to $3,200 or so for the first 2 years, giving you time to get raises, pay down debt, and build that buffer we talked about. It's a bridge to affordability. Step 2, the house hacking play. Can you rent out a room? Can you rent out a basement apartment? If you can generate $1,000 a month in rental income, your effective housing cost drops from $4,010 to $3,010. Now your $7,000 net income leaves you with $4,000 a month. That's a livable number. It's not fun having a roommate when you're 35, but it beats foreclosure. Step 3, the move far or move small option. This is the most painful but most effective. A $500K house in Denver is a shack. A $500K house in Akron, Ohio is a mansion with a pool. If your job allows remote work, you have to ask yourself, do I want a house or do I want this specific location? Similarly, look at condos or townhomes. A $350K townhome with a $2,800 all-in payment is a much safer bet than a $500K single-family home. And now for the take that might get me uninvited from Thanksgiving dinner. Don't buy a house in 2026 if it stretches you thin. I know renting feels like throwing money away, but throwing money away on rent is better than throwing your entire financial future away on a mortgage you can't handle. Right now, putting your money in a high-yield savings account or even short-term treasuries is yielding 4 to 5%. That's risk-free. Meanwhile, home prices are projected to be flat or slightly negative in many markets through 2026 as affordability chokes out demand. If you rent for 1 more year, save the difference, and wait for rates to potentially dip to 6%, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. You are not a failure for renting.
You are a survivor waiting for the math to tip back in your favor. Let's recap what we covered today. We learned that the bank's qualifying income of $120K is a trap that leads to a life with no margin. We learned that the real comfortable income for a $500K house in 2026 is closer to $150K. We looked at the 3 types of people actually buying these houses, and we laid out the survival strategies: buy down your rate, house hack, or wait. Look, the housing market in 2026 is a game of musical chairs, and the music is playing very, very slowly. Don't rush to grab a chair that's broken. If this video helped you see the numbers clearly, if it saved you from making a $500,000 mistake, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And subscribe if you want the truth about money, not the hype. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.